Welcome to my podcast tonight called Learn to Teach for Success. Tonight we're going to talk about coaching, about learning, as well as communication. First, I'm going to have a quick look and see how it is you can hear me. So let's go. Tonight, as we go along, my podcast is divided in three parts. One is about learning, the other part is about teaching, and the third segment is about leadership and success. Now, my name is Alain Faber. I've been teaching in for the last 25 years, actually, and I'm here to share my ideas, my thoughts based on my experiences on how to better learn, how to better teach, and hopefully how to better lead as well. So let's see if we can start this show tonight. So the topic I have tonight is about coaching. So when we think of coaching, we know that we have someone who has our best interest in mind and they want us to get better. So that means that we have some people may call them mentorship, other people may call them coaching. It's similar in many ways, even though mentorship sometimes involved back and forth between two parties. However, when you think of coaching, you are thinking of someone who is sharing their knowledge about how you can do better. But in order to do coaching, then you need expertise. But my perspective today is how being coachable is a key part of getting better. So let's see. My first segment tonight is about learning. And why is it important to be coachable if you want to be a great learner? Now, I'm talking from a different perspective. The first of them is being language learning, keeping in mind that French is my first language and I've been working on my English language skills for as long as I can remember. However, the one thing I know is that I am coachable in getting better in speaking both in French and in English. How do I know that? I know that I can speak with both languages, but I also pay attention to what I say, the words I use, sentence structures, there you go, that I follow. But I also keep in mind all the great advice that I got from people, all the resources I was given that I was able to read, and that's the only way I could get better. Now, speaking of language, some of you might know some people that they know that they live in an area where it's a different language than their first language, and then some people don't feel like they need to learn the local language, and the reason they say, well, I know one language, it's up to the others to uh, be able to understand what I mean. So that's a kind of interesting point of view here, because if you want to learn, you need to be coachable. You need to be coachable because that's the only way you can have a great interaction between you as a speaker and your audience. Now, the audience as a learner could be your classmates. As a learner, you can be speaking to your teachers, to your parents, to family members, community members, and all the people around you are there to help you be better. So I talked about language learning skills. So keep in mind that when you were 6 months, you took months to gather data, to listen to others, and eventually you were able to start speaking. And then your language skills got better ever since. What we know is that people are coachable with learning a new language. And the question is, why do people learn only one language compared to others that know two, three, and four, sometimes more languages? It's quite amazing. Now, the other part that learners need to be coachable is when you are learning a sport. Well, when you're learning a sport at school, for example, it's important to listen to the coach to make sure that you know what drills you need to do and how you can get better. But you also keep in mind that the better you get, the better you are with others that will be better as well. So that means that the best way to get better is to get the best coaches. In order to get the best coaches, you need to have talent, but you also need to work, not only to get better yourself, but also work in doing what the coach is saying, because that's the best way to be able to stay in the team. Even though I know some people may have heard in some leagues where the coaches are being fired to be replaced because they didn't fit the team spirit, for example, or they didn't fit the organization. But still, if you want to be the best learner you can be, being able to learn from a coach in sports is a great way. Now, most teams have their own coach. Often they have an assistant coach, and they also look at other teams playing so that they can learn from other coaches as well. Because often players will go from one team to the other, and then they have to learn a new way of doing things. The best way to be the best learner is to be coachable. Next example I want to give is about my science class. When I do science lessons, that easy. However, when we are doing labs, then it's quite different. As a learner, you can sit in a classroom and listen to the teacher and then get as much as you can or as much as you want from the lessons. But when you do a lab, then usually people see right away what you can do and then if you can learn as well. I know some students where throughout the semester, I've seen amazing improvement in the skills they've shown in the lab setting. They know better how to be safe. They know better how to follow procedures, how to collect data, how to analyze data. And I know that because throughout the semester, every week we do a hands-on activity, and every couple of weeks we do a write-up, or we do a graph, or we do analysis, and we do discussions and variables and so on. And there's some people that every lab they do, they get better. I know that in my science class, I always have an open book setting for the labs. So that means that students can take their previous labs to be able to work their next lab report, to create their next lab report presentation. Interestingly enough, some people, you could see the growth in what they can do. And it is exciting, especially when they can actually notice themselves. So these are students that are coachable. Now, in a classroom, there are always some students where you are sharing information, same information about safety, about procedures, about how to organize their lab bench, how to collect data, table of values, how to create a graph. And there's some students sometimes that they, over the weeks, over the months, you realize that they learned a few things, but at some point, they feel stuck. And this is when we need to figure out the best learners will realize that they need someone to get better. And when they do, then they are coachable. However, some students do, sometimes they're in a situation where it's either they don't want to understand or they sometimes there's a blockage. They say, well, I know what you mean, but they're not willing to do the extra step to get better. It's not that they can't get better, because everybody can learn and get better. The whole idea here is, are some people more coachable than others? If you're coachable, that means that you can use other people's experiences so that you can learn from them, so that you can learn faster, compared to someone who says, well, you know what, I want to learn by myself and I want to learn from my mistakes. You know what, some people are amazing and the growth can be amazing. But imagine if you can actually learn from a coach, and then instead of taking a year or two or more to learn a skill or to master a skill, imagine if you could do that in 1 month. If you can take them in half the time, in a tenth of the time, that means that you could, over the same amount of time, do 10 times as much or learn 10 times more than you would do if you were not coached. So being coachable as a learner has its place. And that's my first idea here. Because the more, let's see, my idea here is, being coachable is to know that by yourself, you know that you are accountable for your learning. And that's usually a good link to someone being coachable and feeling that they can be coached as well. Quite nice. So that brings me to my second segment of my podcast tonight, which is about teaching. When you teach, there's some people that have talent. They are amazing. I know some colleagues where they get in the classroom and they have so much charisma that it's amazing. I've been working on that over the years, and it's getting better and better. And yes, every time I see a presentation, every time I'm part of a workshop, I always learn on how people are doing things so that I can improve my skills. One way that I improve my ways of presenting is to have this podcast. One of the key reasons to have a podcast is for me to practice what I learn so that I can get better and better. My hope is when I do my quick reflecting in a week and a half or so, I'm going to look at my first podcast and see how it looks compared to this one. And my hope is that I will see the growth, knowing that every time I have a podcast, the more I have ideas, the more I can share the information with the audience. And that's the main idea here. And my hope is as we go along, more people will participate in these discussions. So what does it mean to be coachable as a teacher? Well, here are some ideas. So the first one is about curriculum. If you are a teacher, you have a curriculum, either from your province, your state, or you're over directing, it's the umbrella organization you're looking into the teaching. And curriculum, the reason it's there is to tell teachers and also principal and the organization what needs to be part of the learning for students. Now, there's some teachers, what is amazing is that they will take a curriculum and then they'll be able to say, okay, I'll make it mine, and I will get help from other staff so that I can be better at presenting, better at doing labs, so that in science especially, or any topics, how I can get the better lessons for the learning. Now, curriculum is just a piece of information about what you need to teach. But you can be coached at that because it's a skill. You can get the skills to be better knowledgeable on the curriculum. But you can also be more knowledgeable in how you deliver this information. And that's called pedagogy. Pedagogy is when you look at what you have to teach, and then you look at your audience, your trainees, your students, and your kids if you have kids in your family. And the whole idea here is that you are considering them at where they are, what they know, and then you want to expand their learning so that they can grow as a learner. What is interesting though is that sometimes some people say, you know what, there's a new curriculum and I need a textbook. If I don't have a textbook and you don't tell me what to teach, I don't know what to teach. And that's great. There's some people that are amazing at delivering content. They are reporters. You can tell them, here's what you need to do, and they do it, and they are amazing. Some teachers sometimes are more coachable. So that means that they are teachers that they will take the curriculum and they say, okay, how can I teach keeping in mind the human side of the learners? And that's not always easy. The best way to get better is to practice. So first year teachers, when I did my first year of teaching, that was not easy. On top of learning what I had to teach, I had to also learn how to teach. But I also remember that I had a mentor to work with. I also had a chance to see many teachers teaching in their own classroom. I was sitting at the back and just looking at and seeing how they do things, how they approach teaching, how they approach speaking with students, how they approach talking with administrators. And the whole thing is that the more you can learn from others, the faster you can be better. And that's the whole idea of being coachable. Think about that. If you say, well, I can do and learn everything by myself, that's great. You might take a year, 2 years, 10 years, and then you'll get much closer to mastery the more you stay as a teacher. On the other hand, imagine instead of taking 5 years or 10 years to master, you could say pedagogy and teaching. Imagine if after 1 year of practicing and getting better, you get a coach, you get other teachers, and then you learn from them. And then after year 1, you get to year 2, and then you learn from them. You can get information from their experiences. So your second year is worth 3 years of experience, because with a mentor, with a coach, you are trying so many more things, and then you discover what you like, what works for you, what works for the curriculum, what you need to teach, and you become much better, much faster. Because once you get more comfortable as a teacher, then curriculum becomes something you have to do, but it's not your main concern. If you master the teaching, then the students is not as important. No, knowing how to deal with the students is not as important because you trust yourself to know that you're there for the students. There you go. So that means that as you're progressing, you know that if you get in the classroom, students are there, they're humans, they're eager to learn, you're there to teach, there's a content, and let's see if we can put all of this together and work nicely. Sometimes people say, ask me for the first week, okay, show me the planning you've done, everything you will do every day for the first week of school. I cannot really do that. I'm going to give you the big line, the big ideas of those first few days. But during that time, I will get to know the students, get to know what they like, what they don't like. I will share some ideas about what we're going to do in the class. I will get to know what their main topics are, the main topics of interest. They'll get to know me, what I like, what I don't like. And then we get into a consensus saying, okay, this is where we're at. Let's see if we can go from there. And usually that's when I get to day 3, day 4, and then I can start planning a bit more. And that's the best way I think that works for that. Am I still coachable? Yes, I am, because as I get older and I have more experience, I do realize that that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So trying new things, feeling uncomfortable in trying new things is the best way to say, okay, growth is possible. And it's better just to try and say, nope, I don't like it, than never try it. And then never know if you could get better. And that's something that I think is important. And I think that it's part of accountability. Accountability in a teacher is to know that you want to do the best job you can, but also that you can learn so that you can grow as a teacher. And my third point here for teaching is about growth mindset. There you go. My idea of growth mindset is the idea that you never stop growing. You never stop learning. You never stop understanding that whatever you do, it can always get better. First of all, as a human, you evolve, but every year, every semester, you get new students. Every month, your students change. They grow. They have new ideas. They mature in many ways, and all of this makes teaching exciting. And that's why I think that being coachable as a teacher is important. And then again, communication is the key part here. My third part of this, or third segment of this podcast, is about leaders. I think that leaders are in many ways can include so many people. As a leader, you could be a teenager leading younger kids to get better. You can be a young adult leading your group with new ideas. You can be an adult, all ages, where you can lead your team, your family, part of your community. And the amazing thing is that leadership has so many facets. You can even go where, if you're in a workplace, you can lead a team, you can lead a company, you can lead a department. And all of this has the same idea, the idea that you want to be there for the people you are there for. So here I have 3 main points for leading, and especially when we're thinking of a leader being coachable. So a leader, to be a better leader, needs to be able to be coachable. That means that it's a person who, if the person gets into a group and is about to lead people, they'll be able to learn the vision of the group, but also help the people better understand the vision so they can be better for themselves as individuals, but also as part of the group. Now, interestingly enough, A vision should not be static. So a company may have had a vision years ago, decades ago, but often evolving it is a good thing, unless you have it very short. For example, Nike has just do it. It's just do it. 3 words. Those 3 words has an expression that has evolved. And the reason for that is that the vision has evolved with marketing, with the products, but it's always the same part. It's a company that wants to evolve. Now, a leader also needs to be there to support others. So in order to be able to support others, that means that you need to feel comfortable where you are at, regardless of your age, regardless of the setting. If you can feel comfortable with where you are and who you are, and be confident with your voice, what happens is that you can be there for others. And support doesn't mean that you tell others what to do. Support is there for you to know that you can be there for the people around you when they need you. And sometimes it's just listening. Sometimes it's just to give some pointers. Sometimes it's just to offer coaching. Sometimes it's to offer training. And sometimes it's to suggest that sometimes to take a little break is a good thing. And the reason for that is leaders, it's always trickier because a coachable leader is a leader that will learn as part of the group, and also the group will help the leader to become a better leader. But for that, you need to have everybody that somehow can be coachable. The third part I have here with the coachable leader, it's about a leader that feels comfortable with macro managing. When I talk about macro managing, is that a leader that is coachable, a leader that is sure of themselves, that have a vision, that are there to support others, will be also there to trust their team. And the best way to trust your team, I think, is macro management. That means that you have a clear vision, you know to tell people what needs to happen, but then you let them figure out how to make it happen. That's the best way to allow teachers to learn and to allow learners to learn. And the best thing here is that if, as a leader, you can be a coach and you can be a coachable coach, then you have an organization that evolves, and that's quite amazing. And that's the big topic I have today. Thinking that the best way to grow and evolve is to know that, first of all, coaches are available, that you can be coachable and available in your mind, in your mindset, to accept that other ideas are possible, and then grow from there. But the only way that this can happen is to make sure that communication is possible at all level here. So what did we talk about today? We talk about people being coachable so that they can grow as individuals, as learners in the school setting, as a trainee. You need to know that being coachable allows you to get a wealth of knowledge and then accelerate exponentially your growth as a learner. And that's quite amazing. As a teacher, being coachable means that you are willing to look at ideas, new ways of doing things, but also being sure enough in yourself that what you know is important. And then you compare what you know with the new ideas. You are listening to others and then saying, okay, you know what? There's a possibility for me to try something new. And that's how growth happens. And being curious often is the best way to stay excited. And as a leader, to be coachable allows you to be a coachable coach so that you can be there for others by sharing your vision, telling everybody around you that you're there to support them. And I think in many ways is to feel comfortable with macro managing. That means that you are telling people that you're trusting them to grow and be coachable so that you can grow the organization. And that is these are the topics I have for you today. And on this, I'm going to wish you an excellent day. If you have a chance, go and see previous podcasts. You'll see how it evolves, and you'll see ideas about learning, teaching, and leadership. And I think you will enjoy that. On this, have a wonderful idea, and I'll see you. I will be there for the next podcast. On this, take care, and I'll see you soon.